way, either way.
Either way.
Okay, so, all right, so welcome. And I'm gonna just go over, and my friend Penny and I are gonna just kind of, just talk a little bit about CBD, how it works. Feel free to jump in anytime with a question if you hear something that you want to know more about. This is super casual. I have my coffee, I'm wearing my ball cap, like this is very laid back. Penny has her Coke. Oh, Cheryl has her coffee mug. I gave her that.
My water.
Hydrate, definitely hydrate. Okay, so a lot of people always, right now, education is a big thing about CBD. People are like, what is it? Is it pot? Is it going to get me high? I don't even know what this is. So to put it very simply, we have a parent plant called cannabis. And underneath cannabis, it has like two legs almost. You can think of a family tree. And you have CBD on one side and you have marijuana on the other. And the biggest difference that people, are learning about and that we're teaching about is CBD is hemp and marijuana. Hemp is very high in CBD and very low in THC. And marijuana, which looks a lot like hemp, marijuana is very high in THC, which is, what gets you high, and very low in CBD. So the plants have very different properties in the sense that they do different things. And, that's super important to understand when you take a hemp-derived CBD. When you take a THC-derived CBD, you're probably going to get high or feel some weirdness and may not be able to drive your car. And so, Penny, why don't you just do like a really quick, like kind of how it works? Like, what are these receptors? What is the endocannabinoid system? Maybe sure. Let us know about that a little bit.
Yeah. So in the late 90s, before the late 90s, doctors knew that people were actually using marijuana for pain relief. And we knew that, far and wide, people were getting great relief, but they didn't understand why. And so a lot of research came out of Israel. There's a huge cannabis research institute in Israel. And they basically located between some Israeli scientists and some American scientists that there is the largest receptor system in our body that we didn't even know we had. And it's called the endocannabinoid system. You will be tested on that. You have to be able to say that. But we call it the ECS for short. And in that endocannabinoid system, the whole reason and purpose, and it's really exciting research is just rapid fire right now that we're learning more and more, but the whole purpose of this endocannabinoid system is it regulates every single system in our body. So as much as the nervous system, our cardiovascular system, our integumentary system, our skin, it regulates everything. And its whole job is to recognize when something is out of balance. And its job is to fire back and forth to keep things in balance. And it's one of the only systems in our body, the receptor systems, that allows for back and forth communication between our brain. That's what allows for that communication to provide balance, because so many of our systems go brain to hand or hand to brain, I hurt, but there's not that back and forth. So that's the brilliance behind the endocannabinoid system. And my first question, like Trish, when I first started, I have a medical background, so I'm kind of nerdy and I'm a skeptic and a cynic. And I didn't understand when people were saying they were taking CBD for seizures, but then they were also taking it for arthritis in their knee, because those systems don't match up. And that's where we bring together the endocannabinoid system that regulates all of those systems. So if you imagine a body, I call it Bubble Man, and they've got all these little dots all over our body. These receptors that receive the CBD and the THC and the things that we call endocannabinoids. I wish we had an abbreviation for those, but they're all over our body. And if you see a picture of them, they're concentrated in our brain, and they're concentrated throughout our body in different primary organ locations. And CBD and THC, they can pass the blood-brain barrier, which is why they provide such great therapeutic benefits to any sort of what we call neuroprotective disorder, is something like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
I have Parkinson's.
ADD, focus issues, anything that happens in the brain.
I have Parkinson's.
Yes, brain.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have Parkinson's.
And so there's some phenomenal studies, Doreen, about, and actually we've had some visuals where people will take their CBD, and if they're having their shakes will subside just within minutes. It's actually quite fascinating. It also, the main point of THC for the rest of the body, it targets inflammation. So if you think about anything with inflammation, the word itis is the Greek or the Latin root word for inflammation. So if you think of any disease that has itis in it,
arthritis.
there you go. Exactly. So it targets anything.
Doreen.
I know. It targets anything with itis. It gives a big old kick because what we know pre-CBD, that inflammation is the root of all illness. So if we can find a way to manage inflammation and prevent that inflammation from turning into disease, then we never have to get to the point where we question, do I want to take this drug? Do I not want to take this drug? And I think everybody here on this call, we've all come full circle in that we're changing the way we think about medicine. You know, the medical model and the way that we're taught is we wait for a symptom to arrive and then we decide how we're going to treat it. But CBD is a long-term, lifelong commitment, like a vitamin, and that we want to take CBD to prevent that inflammation from ever becoming illness, so that we can have a much healthier, longer life without issues that we have to be on 15 medications. And there's no side effects from CBD. So it's one fabulous God-made plant medicine that treats so many things all at once. I totally got off track, Trisha. I got excited.
Penny, no, that is, I think it's fascinating. The science is so incredible. Like, I think that to me was a huge selling point when I finally started digging into it and doing some research. I was never a science nerd, and I'm not a science nerd like you are.
We're getting there. You're getting there.
But I do really enjoy why this works. You know, like I had no clue. All right. So, and again, anytime pop in, we're just chatting. Welcome, Mary. Thank you for joining. We're just talking about Green Compass. Penny just gave us some reasons, or how it works, how CBD works in the system. Another thing that we really need to make sure people understand and have a good handle on is, why should I buy my CBD from Green Compass? Why can't I just go to the gas station? Why can't I just pick it up at the Hy-Vee or wherever you're shopping? Or, oh my God, look at the TJ Maxx, I'm going to buy a cute mug and some CBD. No, you cannot do that.
You have a good answer for that, Trish. You keep going with that.
I do. Well, I do, because, and I think anybody who has tried other CBDs can attest to it, that, these aren't created equally. Just because a bottle says it has CBD on it doesn't necessarily mean it has CBD in it. And it can taste gross, and it can be chunky and milky, and there's all kinds of, and Green Compass is very high quality, very pure, very clear of any, particles. But, the reason that our CBD comes out like that is because of what we put into it. We are a vertically integrated company, which is very rare in this industry. So we actually own our own hemp farms. We grow the hemp. It doesn't come from anyone else. We grow it in Wilmington, North Carolina. It is grown in USDA certified organic fields. Everything is, they've been growing, the folks that we farm with that are part of our company have been growing organically for over 10 years. They were doing sweet potatoes prior to moving to hemp. And so, super clean fields. We also, we harvest the hemp, we extract the CBD. Yeah. Is it gross?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called, I can't even tell, I don't have my glasses on. It's called Hemp Extract Plus.
Yeah. And again, there could be just enough CBD in there to give somebody a little relief, right?
Yeah.
But then you're kind of like, I didn't really notice that much difference. So, here at Green Compass, we are very much into providing everything that someone needs for their wellness. And we're, like I said, we're able to do that and be vertically integrated because we extract the CBD ourselves. So we decide exactly what terpenes and flavonoids and all the different things are going to go from the hemp flower into our products.
Yeah.
And we do that all ourselves. We bottle it, we package it, we ship it to the customer, and we actually provide customer service. So everything that happens before you get your product happens in Wilmington, North Carolina, with our founders and our folks overseeing and managing every step of the way. Nobody else touches our stuff but us.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really important.
I think that's a really important point, Trish, because important point, Trish, because many bottles will say, well, they're tricky. Marketers are really good at what they do, right? They're in marketing, but bottles will say bottled in the USA, but that does not mean that they were grown in the USA. 80% of the CBD is imported into the United States, and we have no idea what's happened to that, what pesticides, heavy metals, fertilizers, what they've done, if there's even any CBD in it. So you have to be very careful because this is a non-regulated industry. So the reason all of these amazing people that are involved in it, we love it because of the ethics that we have learned that this company lives by, stands by, and they want to be the gold standard because they're just an ethical company. And it's really important to find a company that cares in this industry. Look at my hair blowing. That's my heater. That's my little desk heater. It's a wild, wild west, as people say, but they're in an industry like this that's growing so fast and so furious with so much money tied to it. There tends to not be a lot of ethical players in the market. And so for me, that was super attractive because I like to live my life ethically. And I think that when we look at our bottles and we know that it's vertically integrated, we know that they have never, we know that the plant has never left the hands of Green Compass before it gets to us, is just really reinforcing to me to know that we're getting a quality product.
Yeah. And one thing, yeah, go ahead, Doreen.
I was getting marijuana from the dispensary for a while.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that helps. That makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, but it doesn't always make sense to do that if you've got to go to work, or if you have to drive your car, or babysit a child or a grandchild. It's one of those things where sometimes you need an alternative that you can use ongoing. And thinking and talking about sort of like what we use ongoing, I think it's important for people who are considering Green Compass or new to Green Compass products to understand, like, what are people using? Like, what do I even need to use? And so every day I personally take a nano jelly. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe there it is. I take a nano jelly every morning, and they are incredible for stress and mood and anxiety and energy. I like to say, pardon me?
They're edibles.
They are edibles. Yes. I'll pull one out. They look like this. This is the limoncello, and we also have an elderberry flavor, which has some immune boosting qualities with it because it's elderberry. And so I take that every morning. That is how I start my day. I also do a metabolism boost, which it kind of like helps with my gut health. What else do I take in the morning? I do an immune boost. Like during this time, I'm going to try and keep my best immune health and immune boosting situation. I'm not going to say any more about that. And I also take every night, I take my tincture, because I started CBD because I mentioned my back pain. So I take a tincture every night, which is full spectrum. It has a teeny tiny bit of THC, which is the legal amount. And that really keeps my sciatica pain away. So I use both this and a tincture every day. And I also, to enhance my sleep and make that better, I use, we have a Calm essential oil roll-on. It has CBD in it as well. I roll that on my neck and my chest and my forehead. And I take our Sleep Boost, which is has terpenes and flavonoids and essential oils that are all targeted towards sleep. So throughout the day, I'm always, I'm always kind of building my CBD base and all, and, keeping myself healthy all day long. And Penny, I know you have a different strategy probably about the things that you take, and why. So maybe just kind of fill us in on that.
Well, and I think you made a great point that the bread and butter of the CBD world is to make sure that you're taking a daily tincture or jelly. It doesn't matter which form you take it, but that you're taking CBD on a daily basis. All the other products are just kind of bonuses and wonderful products, but I firmly believe that you heal from the inside out. So you want to get into a routine, just like you take your vitamins every day, you want to take your CBD every day. So I started taking CBD because I had pain issues myself. And I started with one of everybody's favorites, Reduce Pain. And this is pain cream. And actually, this is FDA registered. So we can actually make claims with these. This is the bomb diddly. I play tennis, and I think I have every single woman on the tennis court has a bottle of this in her bag because it really helps in acute situations. So your oil and your jellies, like Trisha was saying, that's gonna take care of you. But there are times when you overdo it. There's times when I'm gardening. There's times when I work out too hard, and maybe I need something right now. I'd use this reduced pain cream as a topical cream if I have a specific spot. But my other favorite is the Boost Pain. And the Boost Pain is also a tincture, but it has no CBD in it. It is just terpenes and essential oils. And when we say terpenes, we know that there are certain part of the plants, as we study more, that are targeted for specific bodily functions. So we know, like Trish said, sleep or pain or immune or metabolism. So for me, I take this anytime I think I need to reach for an ibuprofen, because I shouldn't.
Exactly. I have not, and people, I don't know if they believe me or not, but honest truth, I have not taken an Advil since September of 2019. Not a single one.
And it
I
feels
use my
so
pain boost.
good.
Yeah.
It feels so
and I was
good
taking
because
12 a day. I was taking 12 a day.
ditto. And when your doctors are telling you, oh, you shouldn't take too many ibuprofen, and yet you're in pain, what are you to do? And so my real test with this, because I took it and I believed in it and I'm all excited for my family, but when my boys take it and they ask for an ibuprofen, I'll say, you have to take the Boost Pain first. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll let you have an ibuprofen. And they never get to the state of taking ibuprofen. In fact, my son yesterday, his braces got tightened too tight and he thought his teeth were going to fall out. And I made him take the Boost Pain. And within minutes, I mean, it's just quick. And I know that it's healthy he's not going to be on dialysis when he's 80 because he's taken so much ibuprofen. And I love it. It works as well or better than ibuprofen, and it's clean for your body.
And
those are my
speaking
favorites.
of our kids, and then we'll kind of move on, but you just made me think of something that I love people to think about. You think, oh, my kid is fine. My kid doesn't have any pain, or my kid doesn't have any focus issues or having any problem in school. Well, either does mine, right? And so, but my children have taken CBD since I started taking it because I read about the science, and I think about their future, like Penny was referring to, like, they aren't going to be hit with these itis situations. The state of disease in our country, if we can get this ball really rolling, the state of disease in our country in 15 years is going to look very, very different. And I know that in my family, on my husband's side, there is dementia and Alzheimer's in the line. And I'm like, girls, I have 2 daughters, 2 teenagers. And I'm like, you take this, you have to keep that inflammation at bay, because you do not want to have to be dealing with that when you're 70, 80, whatever years old. You want to have a good, quick mind and really be there. And taking CBD regularly for your entire life is going to help you get there. So I always think of my kids' future. That's a big driver for me.
One of my favorite quotes that, of course, I always say I'm going to find the quote so I can prove it to you. But one of the doctors that researches cannabis, he's a big researcher, said that the invention or the use of CBD is going to save more lives than the onset of the sterile surgical procedure. And if you go back and read, I mean, when they were doing surgeries without any sort of sterile procedures whatsoever, it saves so many lives for us to have a sterile operating room and for doctors to wash their hands and wear gloves and wear masks and all those things. And the fact that CBD can save more lives than when we learned that we just needed to be clean when we did open body surgeries. Is it just blows my mind to think that the lives that we can save and help.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to kind of just briefly touch on, and then we'll open it up for any questions or any thoughts or comments or whatever. You know, we actually, you know, I do this as a business. Like, this is my job. And I had never been in network marketing before. I had never been in direct sales. I was a corporate marketer at Sprint for many, many years. And before that, I worked at Hallmark. So, you know, I had lots and lots of corporate experience and wasn't expecting to ever do something like this. But everything kind of lined up. You know, I found this product that actually, you know, quite honestly, changed my life, changed how I walked around in my day. And that inspired me to do research, and that inspired me to check out the company and understand hemp and find out what the industry was looking like. And, you know, it really just got my wheels turning, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I told my friend, okay, I didn't even tell her. I told my husband, I said, I'm going to give this 2 weeks. If I still feel this good in 2 weeks, I am going to sell this product, because I'm telling everyone about it. Like, I'm telling everyone, oh my God, I'm like walking really fast, and, you know, and I'm feeling so good. And so 2 weeks to the day, I called up my friend and I said, I would like to get with this company and start, you know, making money for everything I'm talking about. And, you know, this company is still a ground floor. We're less than 3 years old. It is, and I'll let Penny jump in too about, you know, what she loves about it and why she did this. But it's one of those things where, you know, you don't think you need a side hustle. You don't think you need this extra income, or you're like, I'm fine. But you know what? This has really changed. The money that I earn simply by sharing what I love and sharing how it helps me has paid for a lot of things that, you know, this has been really helpful. But, you know, our company, we do things differently. We're not a typical network marketing company. We, you know, I think what our founders do, and they care about the advocates, they truly do. Many of us have met them and hung out with them, and they are really, really amazing, awesome people. It's a couple, and they just work, they work from the heart. And I love this quote, and this is what sort of drives everything. They say that even if there wasn't a dollar attached to this business, they would still find a way to get CBD out to the people who needed it. You know, and I feel like that's kind of how we all feel. We all want to help people, and there's nothing wrong with making some extra money doing so. And Penny, I'll let you kind of fill in with some of the things, you know, that make us different, and why someone might want to consider, you know, joining the team.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that's really important, and that, I mean, my profession is one that I like to help people, so I naturally want to help people feel better. But at the same time, someone mentioned this previously, and I do this because I want to do it, and I'm not saying this, but I haven't always worked outside of the home. But what is amazing about this, I will say that everybody in the Kansas City market, none of us have done this before. We are not professional direct sales people. We're the blind leading the blind. And I think that's what makes us so close and so fun, because we're just laughing our way through it as we figure out our way and having fun doing it together. So for me, what keeps me going is the community, and the community that we have here in Kansas City. I have met some of my favorite people in Kansas City and outside of Kansas City. And there's some people that may not want to do this because they don't need the money. But they need the community, or they need something to do. They idle hands, you know, they're just sitting around the house or not having something where they feel purpose. And I know that I felt that, having been sick a long time. I just needed purpose. I just needed something to do in my day to make me feel like I'm smart and that I'm worth something and that I can help other people. So everybody comes at it for a different reason. It's not always just, I got to make money. It could be for the community. It could be to learn. It could be, I just need a couple $100 extra a month just because I want to play and go out to lunch with my friends.
Or I want to pay for that CBD that I, you know, use every month.
Exactly. So everybody has a different motivation, but I do think that's what's unique about us here in Kansas City, is that none of us are pro. We're all completely humble. Nobody thinks we know better than anything, and we lean on each other. And we're just, I can't say enough about what a great team I think we have here in Kansas City together.
Yeah. Okay. So anyone have any questions or concerns, or, you know, something, you know, if you are trying to decide what you might need to take or something that's bothering you, throw them out. Let's see if we can address them before we wrap up here. We'd love to answer anything. Yes, Rachel.
Okay, thank you. As you were talking about the like tennis pain and the thing, not the pain, the pains that you have maybe in an activity or such, or a pain that might be limiting your ability to do the activity as well. So I personally have been taking CBD for a couple months, and it's amazing, and I have so many great testimonies of my own. But one thing, as I was listening to you talk, is I do have this unusual pain in my, and I think it might be my right kidney, because I do have some right kidney issues that I've been dealing with over the years. But so it feels like kind of right there on my low back. And I kept forgetting to use the reduce. I used it this morning when I started playing tennis, because I thought, oh my gosh, I have the reduce in my bag. Why am I? So I'm trying it on there, but it's still there. And I'm wondering if I need to try a little bit higher dosing of my CBD, if that would remove it from being kind of an ongoing, because it's gotten rid of so many other pains that I have in my body. Mm-hmm. But what do you think? Because I don't want to overdo it, but it's something that is there all the time. It's just like kind of like cramps are there all the time. You just try to ignore them. That's what it is like.
Can I take this one?
I'll
take this one. A couple things. I mean, yes, dosing is always a concern, but if dosing is working for you otherwise, I don't know that I would necessarily tweak your dose too much, because as we know, CBD works on a bell curve. So if you take too much, then you might notice that other things aren't working as well. And it also, number two, I have 3 points. Second point is, it is unbelievable to me. Thank you. Keep track. 1, 2, 3. It may end up being 5. But what is unbelievable to me, because now I've been taking it consistently for 3 years, things that are healing on my body that I never expected to heal. Like I never would have sought a doctor. So like I had a meniscus repair, and I could never sit on my knees, let alone get up from that one knee. And I noticed last Christmas, we took a Christmas picture in front of the Christmas tree, and I sat on my knees without even thinking of it and stood right up. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And so that's something that I never thought would heal. I never expected it to heal, but over time, my body continues to heal, and things are still healing. Third point, which may be the one you don't necessarily want to hear. Number 3, Trish, is so my mom has arthritis, and she swears by her CBD. She had to be taken off of it, and she couldn't wait to get back on it because she didn't realize how much it was working for her. But now she's 79 and she's limping again. And I told her, CBD is a godsend, but CBD doesn't create new discs between, it doesn't create synovial fluid. It doesn't create those things. So there is a point to where it's not necessarily going to heal absolutely everything. It's major anti-inflammatory, but there may be a point where you do have to see a doctor. Doctors are good for something, right? But it does work up to a point. But there's a point now, my mom's bone on bone with her knees, and CBD is not going to help her bone on bone. So I always try to remind people that, yes, it's amazing and it's everything and it's wonderful. We're not doctors. And there may be a point that you do actually need to seek a doctor for something if it doesn't heal over time. You have something to add to that, Trish?
Yeah. And Rachel,
yes.
Maybe try, I don't know if you're doing this, but maybe try taking some pain boosts, 3 times a day.
When you said that I wanted to, that was very helpful, because my daughter also is having some unusual pain. And I told her, oh, I need you to come take the pain boost. After you talked about it, I was like, oh, and myself.
Yeah.
Mom.
And that is true. I used to take the pain boost on a schedule, like every single day. And it got to the point where I just take it as needed now. So that is a very viable option, just to hit it harder on a consistent basis.
Okay. Yeah, and you said something, I don't know, Penny, I don't know if it was this time, but it kind of hit me, because a lot of people, like you said, you take too much CBD and maybe you don't feel the goodness anymore, right? It's on a bell curve. And I think what a lot of people don't maybe realize, or we just have to still always educate, is that CBD doesn't necessarily make you feel something, Like it doesn't, like I take my CBD and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I feel so great. But it's more the absence of a feeling, an absence of the pain, or an absence maybe of, shakes, or the absence of, joint inflammation, or whatever it might be. And absence of anxious feelings and stress and all that. So you, like Penny said, you wake up one day and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even realize that my knee was feeling better, because it just kind of happens behind the scenes almost. And so that's really important, as you're on your journey and start your journey, is that it's not going to just be like, boom, I feel good. It's going to be like, I'm just going along my day. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I just sat in a car for 20 minutes and my back doesn't hurt. It just sort of, things just start appearing, and the absence of feelings are really what you're looking for. Any other questions, Doreen? Do you have any questions? Or
No, my cat was just laying on top of me. I had to sit
your
up and
cat
go
is
down.
cute. Your cat is very cute.
He's very happy.
Cindy, do you have a question? You look like you're unmuting.
What is the difference between your broad spectrum and your full? And which would you recommend for someone that's not sleeping well, or anxiety, etc.? And which one would you use for pain?
Oh, well, Penny, why don't you say what the difference is, and I'll say what you use for those two things.
I'm so sorry. I lost my Zoom. I was like panicked. I'm like, where are they? I can't find them. Okay, so you said the difference between full spectrum and broad spectrum. Is that was the question?
Yes.
Yes.
So full spectrum is every single thing in the plant. So that means with the, as Trisha said in the beginning, that hemp is up to 0.3% THC, which most of our products, which we haven't talked about, but there's a QR code at the bottom of the product. So you can actually go to a certificate of analysis to see exactly what's in your body. Amazingly enough, they've now made this to where they can trace it to the specific fields and the specific row. So if there's a problem with the product, they can go take care of it, which I think is amazing. But full spectrum has everything in the plant. So up even that little minuscule amount of THC. However, broad spectrum, which are the jellies that Trish and I take, and we also have a broad spectrum tincture, is everything in the plant, all the wonderful parts minus the THC. So we recommend those. There's certain times we recommend different things. Number one, for people who get regularly drug tested, nurses, people that are concerned about that THC. And I hate saying that because you're not doing anything wrong by taking full spectrum, but we just don't have a standardized way to test for THC. This has grown and exploded so quickly in the past couple of years. Just like when you're in a car accident, they test your blood alcohol level and it's a ratio, a percent. So these days, if they test your THC, it may be a ratio and you'll be totally fine, or it could be a positive negative, like I guess like a pregnancy test. It could just be there, and you're not doing anything wrong. It's just an added headache. So the full spectrum is the full spectrum of the plant. Broad spectrum is everything in the plant except for the THC.
And I personally, what I do when I have a customer or a client that we're trying to decide the right product for them, we always have a conversation and understand, do you get drug tested? Is that something, a situation? And then we take that lane of broad spectrum. But I often, if someone is telling me that they're stressed and they're cranky and they're, maybe they can't sleep very well and they have anxiety, I always recommend that they use the jellies. I think that product is really, really a good match for those types of issues. That's just the feedback I get from my customers, and I know other people are getting the same. If I have a potential client who's talking about pain, like whether they have arthritis pain or back pain or knee pain, where it's like pain, I always start them with a full spectrum tincture if they don't get drug tested. I feel like just that little bit of THC really amps everything up and addresses that pain better. I mean, regular broad spectrum CBD is fantastic, but if you can get away with the full spectrum for pain, that's my go-to when I'm talking to customers.
I totally agree. And they do say, just like you said with the broad spectrum, there are studies to show that for some people, nobody's the same. Every person is different. And that's what's so great about taking CBD, is that you can literally, once you find out your sweet spot, it is the perfect dose for you and nobody else. But that a lot of people need to start with the broad spectrum if you do deal with anxiety type feelings. Because sometimes when people have anxiety, that additional THC may actually amp them up instead of bring them down. And I think that's why we get such a good response with those jellies, because if I have anxious feelings, I take a jelly and within minutes, it's to me like taking a Xanax. I mean, it just
10 minutes, I'm like, good.
chill. Yeah, I don't have the fluttery feelings or the sweaty palms or anything. So there's something to say about that broad spectrum to be used for certain issues that tend to be the neuroprotective, that more of the anxiety, the depression, and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gone 45 minutes. I feel like we've probably hit our wall.
So much fun.
I know. It is fun. I really love, talking about it and answering questions and making sure everybody has the information that they need to make a decision to try CBD or maybe join the company or whatever it is. Does anybody else have anything else before we wrap this up? I'm going to stop the recording, and I appreciate, and I know Penny appreciates your attention and your time this morning. And please, reach out to whoever invited you to this chat and follow up with them and find out, get all the rest of your questions answered. And, we're always here for you. And I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of the day. And we'll probably do this again soon. So, keep listening to your advocate, and I'm sure they'll let you know when we're going to do this again. So,
Okay,
thank you
thanks,
so much.
Trish.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks, Trish, for hosting.
Thanks, Penny.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah.
Nice
have
to
a
see you,
good
Doreen.
night.
Bye-bye.